the bump and run, the Bristol move.
That's aggressive, but that's good. Good hard racing. Oh, he puts him out of the groove there.
Oh, man.
Will he get the bumper? Yes, he does. Here comes Logano. Logano on the inside. A drag race. They're sideways. And it's going to be Logano getting the win.
The back end of the 18. Kick out.
Yeah, he got into it right there. Moved him out of the way. Just got the lead.
It's almost too early to be racing that hard for the lead, wasn't it?
Never too early to be racing for the lead.
At Bristol.
At Bristol.
Man, this is one of the biggest wins of my career.
It's the bump and run,
Baby.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I am your host, Michael D. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a Kyle Larson type of weekend. He's the big winner down in Martinsville. And I tell you what, I thought it was kind of fitting. The number 5 was in victory lane the day Fox did that. Did you see that pre-race show with the production where they told the story of Hendrick Motorsports and how Martinsville was one of the last races that they could go to with all that money? And then Kyle Larson puts that 5 in victory lane. Almost makes you want to put on the tinfoil hat, but I'm not going to. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff, fellas. You know the deal by now. Tell all your friends, all your NASCAR buddies. Spread the word. Fellas, how was your weekend? Matt, Daytona Ron, what'd you think of, I mean, I don't know. We're a little off today because it's Tuesday. Let's inform the listener why we couldn't do it on Monday. Daytona Ron, what the hell happened?
I was all ready. I was excited, ready to go. We were texting in the group, and you know, it seemed like we were pumped for the show. But
we were fired the fuck up for the show, and yeah,
we were ready at like 8 a.m. yesterday. We were like ready to go.
And I think I don't know which one of us started, but it was early in the morning, and we launched right into the day. And I get home later on after work to no power at the house, so I had. No power for about 4 hours. Didn't come on till around 9 o'clock last night. So yeah, that was. I ended up, cooked a pretty good pizza on my flat top though. That
nice
new thing was a flatbread, and I'm like, it was one of these HelloFresh meals I have, and I'm like, I gotta cook, gotta make something to eat. Ooh, the flat top. I cook anything on that.
There you
go. And
go.
a little sausage and pepper, a little pizza on top. It came out spectacular. Shout out Blackstone flat tops. You can cook anything on them.
I was gonna say, now you have a little cool recipe for Pocono in the infield too with the Blackstone. So
I'll be slinging pizzas.
Blackstone puts out a hell of a product. They I used to have a little like tailgate size flat top blacktop that I would bring to like races and shit. As a matter of fact, the last time it worked was the last time I was at Pocono infield. I don't know, in a drunken stupor. Whitey, I don't know if you remember that because we were parked close to each other.
Yeah.
I went to go use my blacktop, and I think just drunkenly I broke something on it, and it didn't work since. So Blackstone puts out a great product.
Yeah, it really does. In fact, I from going to Pocono all these years now, I'm jealous of everyone that has those nice big Blackstone griddles and everything, where I'm like, should I buy one? The thing is, though, everybody has
but
one.
why do you use it like I do? I use it all. I use it at home. I mean, if you'd use it at home, like it is now my grill. I had a charbroil, big open burner on the side thing. I gave that to my neighbor.
Yeah.
Because I never used it. Once I got my Blackstone, never used my other one. So I use it quite often, so it is worth it.
Well, here's the thing. I don't have a grill at Bree's house here, so I think I want to get the Blackstone, and then I'm going to get some cast iron. I don't know how to describe it, but it looks like the grill marks. But it's a cast iron thing.
Yeah, I know
so then you can throw a steak down. You get the cast iron skillet type.
It's like they sell one for the bacon. It's like a flat to keep the suppressed, to keep the bacon down.
Yeah.
So that the bacon doesn't get all shriveled up. It keeps the bacon down, but it has the grill underneath it, so it looks like you're getting the grill marks.
The grill marks and everything. That way you could do anything on it. And you do breakfast in the morning.
You make it, right?
Yeah.
It's on a grill. Look at that. Look at the marks. Check those marks.
You do breakfast in the morning, you do burgers in the afternoon, you throw the little grill grates down, and you do a steak later on for dinner time, and there you have it. But fellas, let's jump into the news. I think we're gonna make it a quick one. in here because we got a lot to talk about in Martinsville. Only a couple of stories. Of course, you may have noticed last week we talked about it. Cody Ware. Oh yeah, hold on.
The Bump and Run NASCAR News.
Tuesday throws us off.
Tuesday
throws us off. It's
Every
all right.
time. Every single time it does.
It really does. In fact, Matt, I forgot. How was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was good. It was good, man. I got a new vehicle, got a GMC blacked out terrain. It's a beautiful vehicle. So I'm out of the Toyota camp and I'm into the GM world now.
Nice.
So I can actually, root for Hendrick Motorsports and not feel guilty about driving a Toyota. So it's not a Chevy, but it's in the GM world. So I'll take it.
I tell you what, I need Tyler Reddick to move over to SHR because I'm a Ford man and I've had a Camaro sticker in the back and now I have a 45 and a Toyota logo in the back. It's
so
confusing.
Funny. And then I had the Celtics won game 1 against the Hawks. So the NBA playoffs have started. So that's exciting. They're actually getting game 2 started right here. So if you see me like randomly like root or cheer or something or curse even, like it's because the game's on.
Yeah, Matt's multitasking as always. If you watch on the YouTube feed, you'll see his eyes dart over to the corner. He's got a TV off to the side. He's watching Penguins games, Monday Night Football, all sorts of shit. Still bringing the stats and the facts to the podcast, though, and that's all that matters. But let's jump into the NASCAR news. Of course, last week we talked about Cody Ware being arrested. He was brought in once again, too. It seems like Zane Smith is going to be running that 51 car. I think I saw an official press release, but he was in the 51 car the last 2 Sundays, so that makes sense. And now, whatchamacallit, Corey Haim will make his Xfinity debut for Sam Hunt Racing at Dover. Matt, you're heading to Dover for the weekend, but I think we were just heading down on Sunday, right?
Yeah, we're not going to be there for the Xfinity series. Although week in and week out, we see it. They put on the best show. So just schedule-wise, it's only going to work out where we get down there for Sunday. But Corey Haim, dude, he deserves it. I mean, I looked at his stats. He's already got his 1 win in the Truck Series this year. He's got 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s in 7 races. So is he the next superstar? I really think so. And so he's getting that Xfinity Series shot now. So that's cool to see.
Yeah, him and the Smiths, man, they're really talented in ARCA together, and I think he's going to do some big things too. And then Chase Briscoe, they talked about it a lot. He had a broken finger the last 2 weeks. He got surgery on Monday. I saw a little thing he put out that the surgery went well. So I couldn't imagine driving a car, a cup car with a broken finger.
X-ray they showed on the broadcast, it was like this part of the finger, it was like split all the way up to the knuckle, like just split down the bone. It was like, oh, I could not imagine how bad that hurts.
Oh yeah,
holding on with one hand and having the downshift with the other hand, so you're definitely using that close to your palm.
And
yeah, that had to be sore.
And he probably had him taped up too, where it's like this, so he's holding the wheel with like 3 fingers or something too, right? You know, like was he giving the little Jeep wave out the window the whole entire time?
He had a good race too, so maybe let's snap the other finger and see what happens.
He did. In fact, we'll talk about him. Consecutive top 5s 2 weeks in a row with a broken finger. Maybe it was a little bit of good luck. We'll see how he fares in Talladega. And then let's see. Sorry. I wrote down Kaulig appeal, and it auto-corrected to mailing appeal. So we got some U.S. Postal Service news to talk about. No, of course, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the Kaulig. They appealed. They had the same type of penalty that Hendrick Motorsports had with the louvers and stuff. They faced a different appeals board panel, and their appeals board panel upheld the penalty. So then they took it to the final appeals board, who also upheld the penalty, which I thought was interesting. Something even more interesting, though, NASCAR decided to change what they got penalized for, and they gave back their points, and they just took a monetary fine similar to what happened to Hendrick. They said in the air of fairness, which I actually thought was a good call. What did you guys think about NASCAR making that move?
NASCAR made the right move for once, like that, like out of just like the right moral move, I guess you can say. So hey, we always talk trash on NASCAR. What are they doing? Inconsistency, things like that. They want to be consistent in the interest of consistency and fairness. They did the right thing in this situation. So kudos to them.
Yeah, I'm not really. I might not give them kudos because I think that they felt pressured into this. I don't know that this is fully genuine. Because there was a lot of fan backlash and a lot of people saying, hey, what is with this? Like, this is clearly not unfair. And I think maybe the stir around it pushed them into this conclusion. But they did do the right thing by me. I don't know if it was completely sincere if they would have done it, but in today's world, you do get pressured into doing a lot of things like that when the fan base comes after you now. So good on them. It was the right thing to do. So maybe we'll see a little bit more consistency moving forward now that they changed the rule and everyone kind of understands what's going to happen with this appeals process and how this all went down. So hopefully this is the last time we have to address this and we could talk about racing.
Right.
You know what I find interesting about the whole appeals panel process and stuff. And again, if you want a really good in-depth look, Denny Hamlin did a fantastic podcast a couple of weeks ago. It was a special podcast after he lost his appeal and basically told the ins and outs of how it all works. It's basically like you're in a courtroom and all that. But the reason why I'm bringing it up, I find it interesting because I feel like for so long, NASCAR never lost appeals. Right. Where NASCAR created the appeals panel, they put the people on the board. I don't know if everyone they choose. I think it's kind of like a random draw type deal, but they choose the people that are qualified to be on the appeals board. And it kind of makes me wonder if now they're like, oh, we should never even fucking put the appeals. I feel like it was kind of a show that they put it out there, but they were supposed to never actually lose any appeals. And now it's kind of backfiring on them. Do you guys have that same sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% I do, Whitey, because basically NASCAR came out and said, okay, Kaulig, we're going to change the rules and say, so what was the point of the appeals to begin with? If you don't like what the appeals board did, you're just going to come over the top every time and say, we don't like that. So we're going to change the rule now. We're the leader. It doesn't matter anymore, So I do get that sense, Whitey. You are right there.
That's exactly what made me think about it too. It's like, oh, we lost, so now we're gonna change the rule anyways. Where it's like, well, why even have an appeals panel?
Doing?
Yeah, what are we
doing? That's
doing?
why I say it might not be the most genuine thing that they did where they're coming from.
No, I agree. But we have a race weekend to talk about. Let's jump into the trucks. Eric, you watched the trucks this week, didn't you? You were having some people up the Harding hole in the garage.
Yeah, we tried to watch the trucks.
Yeah, what time did it start? Because I know
it started at 10 o'clock, I think. By that point in time, I was already 3 sheets to the wind.
Okay,
and people were at the house, and it's like you didn't know when it was going to come on. It came on, and then it rained again. It went to delay. And so, yeah, that was kind of a shit show of a race with the weather. But hey, it was a hell of a first garage party for a truck night at Martinsville. I'll tell you that.
Hey, that's all that matters in the long run.
Yes, it is.
Ty Majeski ended up winning. I didn't see it either. In fact, I just turned on Fox Sports app around 10 o'clock. And I saw it's not even going on. So I went to bed at 10:15 on Friday night. I was exhausted.
Same.
And I had overtime work on Saturday morning. And then on Saturday, we saw John Hunter Nemechek dominate in the Xfinity Series, burned his car down.
Great burnout. That was a great burnout. Great race, too.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, with the... I think this is the second car we saw catch on fire. It's the mud flaps or whatever on the back tires. They just light up like kindling and light the whole entire car on fire. Absolutely spectacular burnout. I wonder how Joe Gibbs feels about it though. Because he kept going.
Oh, he hates it. He hates it.
Yeah, he can't stand that for sure.
No.
I tell you who else hated it that I was surprised too. That kind of didn't surprise me. I was listening to the morning drive on Sirius XM radio on Monday. Pistol Pete was pissed off about it, where he's like, you didn't have to keep going. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm like, come on, come down. He's like, I bet you the men and women at the shop didn't care for that. Where I'm like, I get it, but like, I don't know, man. It's a fucking celebration. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have no comments. Nothing that I wanted to say on air about Pistol Pete.
I agree. And then Kyle Larson, he led once for 30 laps on Sunday. Got himself a Martinsville clock at a racetrack he says he's very terrible at. 2 hours, 50 minutes, 35 seconds was the time of the race. Actually loved the time. Right under 3 hours. I feel like that's perfect. We saw 5 cautions for 50 laps, 10 lead changes among 9 different drivers. Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, and Chase Briscoe, your top 5. Of course, Briscoe in the 5th position for the second week in a row. The man loves a short track. Let's jump into the race grades.
It's our NASCAR weekend race grade.
And we'll start with Eric. Eric, what are you thinking about the race at Martinsville?
I enjoyed it. We watched it out in the garage. Just me and my girlfriend. We were out there, enjoying the nice weather. It was a beautiful day on Sunday.
Yeah.
And we really, really enjoyed what we saw at Martinsville. I'm trying to go into every race, not thinking of what happened last year. This is a new season. This is a new package. They're trying to adjust on this car. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Just a step above. It doesn't have to be a huge leaps and bounds as far as, what I see on the racetrack, but I saw some improvement out of Martinsville in the spring race compared to what we saw last year. Was it anything to drop my jaw about? No. Was it anything for me to bitch and moan and complain and say, this is terrible? Not at all either. So it was somewhere right between where it was just one of those, we had a good NASCAR Sunday where it was just a good solid race. And, there wasn't any kind of big headline moments. And I'm fine with that because you don't need that every week. I think the big headline moments, they take a lot of time and energy out of it. And it's like, I don't know. I don't like necessarily those big headline moments because they tend to distract from everything else. So I'm glad we just had a smooth race up until the end when it got a little weird for me when that BJ McLeod green flag tire came off. So that's when it kind of flipped things around. And the guys up front that were running pretty much all day up there because of dirty air and track position, same speeds. They couldn't do anything about it. It's just, that's how the races go sometimes. And, that's the only thing that I really didn't like was that the guys running up front all day. They just kind of got screwed at the end there a little bit, but overall I thought it was a great race, great improvement from last year at Martinsville. And, I'm safe to say that I'm liking what they're doing with this package for now.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, how about you?
I mostly agree with everything that Eric just said. It was a B race. Eric, what was your grade?
I gave it a B.
A B. Okay, yeah, me too. I gave it a B. It was kind of an odd race, which is okay. And I think I say odd because you had the tire fall or the wheel fall off of Anthony Alfredo's car late in the race, which kind of threw strategies through a loop. For me, I thought Whitey and I were talking about it as soon as qualifying was over. I said, that top 10 starting lineup is kind of an odd cast of characters, just guys that you don't normally see in the top 10 or starting in the top 10. And then Whitey made really solid points as to why all those guys belonged in the top 10. So I really couldn't push back on that. But from the race aspect of it, I liked what I saw. It had me glued to the TV. Like I always say, it had me glued and attentive, but it didn't necessarily have me at the edge of the couch, which is fine. We saw one decent battle for the lead with Denny and Briscoe, I believe, were the two. Some of the battles throughout the pack were pretty good. I actually thought Fox did a decent job of showing those mid-pack battles for once. But the further back you got, it was a lot harder to pass. And Eric, you're right. That's not new. I don't know why that was really brought to the forefront of everyone's attention this weekend. Dude, it's been that way for a long time. Even the previous gen cars,
Yeah.
The further back in the pack you get, the harder it is to pass, especially on these shorter tracks. So that's not necessarily anything new.
And Matt, to just interject here, even if they're not passing, I saw a lot of people bumping and trying to run and pass. So like they might not have made the pass, but they were actively racing and trying to move and say, hey, 1 lap, 2 lap. If not, I'm gonna move you out of the way. So it was still entertaining, even though that ton of passing was not going on.
And with the shifting now, it makes the bump and run kind of hard because you get moved, you shift, and boom, out of corner exit, you're gone anyway. So, and I think we're going to I don't know if we have that on the agenda to talk about, the 3 main things that we all think, the car needs to change in order to get better. We could talk about that in a minute here, but I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't a top 10 Martinsville race that I've ever seen, but it certainly was better than last year. It wasn't the bottom 50 Martinsville race I've ever seen. It was a solid B race. If every race was a B, we would have one hell of a season. So I gave it a B. I liked what I saw for the most part.
Yeah, dude, I'm in agreement with the both of you. And if you judge this race solely on what people on social media and what some of the drivers and some of the spotters have been saying, it was the worst fucking display of NASCAR racing in the history of NASCAR racing. And I thought it was a B-. I thought it was a weird one. It got real weird at the end there, like Matt said. But we saw long green flag runs made for some dull parts. But there was some really good action on restarts. There was good action in between with guys attempting to make passes and stuff. Was it hard to pass? Yeah. Has it been hard to pass for years? Absolutely. And like Eric said, it was a hell of a lot better than the last spring race we got. When it was 30 degrees out, we saw no passing at all except for Austin Dillon. I don't know, man. I thought it was a perfectly fine race. And
you know what just blew my nipples off my chest?
What's that?
Was Jeff Gluck. I saw his tweet from earlier today. Martinsville a good race? Only 37% said yes.
I said yes too.
I don't know what the other 63% of people were watching, but they're not racing fans.
They're looking for those headlines. They're looking for the drama out of it. They're looking like that's why Whitey is right. I do not trust the Twitter, social media polls, anything like that, because they are on there. They're just looking for the drama out of it all. They don't really care about the racing. We care about what we see on there. We care about the racing, and it's like that was a good race. Like I don't know. We said it like the other day about the Bristol Dirt. Like if you didn't think that was like fun, good racing to watch, like then you don't like racing. You just like go. Like I'll tell those people that said no to that race, go watch F1 if you just want drama and headlines and a Netflix show about their housewives. Go over there because you're not going to get racing. All you want is the drama. Then go there. Like we have excellent racing in NASCAR. And I think people are taking it for granted. I don't know if it's just like the small minority on social media, like what he's saying, where they have the biggest voice because it is social media. Yeah. But man, like I would be perfectly fine with that style of race or that ending of a race going forward from these cookie cutter tracks that we go to. That was just racing.
Yeah. It was racing.
Yeah.
It was racing. Do we want to see a shootout to the finish? Do we want to see the beating and banging on a short track the last 3 laps of a race? Hell yeah, we do. But we're not going to get that every time.
Going on. You just got to look for it. You got to, you know what I mean? Pay attention. I think a lot of this in today's world is a lot of this. You're watching the race, but you're also doing this.
Yep. Yeah.
Looking down at your phone, playing a game, texting, gambling. You're doing something. You are not. I think as a fan, we do it too. I have people over the house when I watch races. Like I always enjoy a race better when it's just me, full attention, in my living room watching the race. Where I can have a headset on, I'm on the app, and I'm focused on the race. And the last couple of weeks, it's kind of been like that for me, and I've been able to enjoy the race a lot better because I'm paying attention. I'm seeing all these little nuances that if you miss that and you come back 25 laps later, you're like, what kind of race is this? Well, it's I think the attention span of the race fan today is something that, you know, you have to consider, and they're not full. Their full attention is not on these races.
I also urge people, sorry, Whitey, I also urge people to get to a track, especially a short track or a track that you can see all the action. You know, a Pocono, a Talladega, a Daytona, the pack gets away from you and you have to wait 20, 30 seconds for it to get back to you. But a Martinsville, Richmond, you know, Dover, I mean, we were at the Dover race last year, and we were able to pick out any battle that we wanted throughout the pack to watch.
We were watching the Corey LaJoie, Eric Jones battle for half the day.
Yeah. We were in, like, I feel like if we were at Martinsville this past weekend, our B's might have been A's, because then we would have been able to watch every little battle that was out there.
Right.
Eric, you were at Bristol last weekend. You ranked it an A+. I think Whitey and I both ranked it like a B- or whatever, a C or whatever it was. You had that at-track experience. So for these people that are like, I don't know, I don't like what I see, get to a track. Especially if you live on the East Coast or like a little south of like Pennsylvania, like you have like 5 or 6 tracks within just a couple hours of each other. Get to a race, stop bitching about it. You'll like what you see at the track.
And if you don't want to spend money to go and travel to a race, spend $5.99 on the NASCAR app, because you could watch. I was watching Eric Jones's in-car cam from Martinsville, and, you know, listen to a scanner at the same time. And when something happens, you move over to the other scanners of the team that something's going on.
Yeah.
You get filled in with so much more information, and you're not like, I hear a lot of these callers too on Sirius XM calling in about the race, asking these questions. And it's like, did you even you didn't even watch the race? Like what,
Right.
Like the questions are so simple. And it's like, what are you even doing while you're watching this race? I really, really do are paying full attention.
Now, with all that being said, though, there is some issues with the car, the package, and some of the racing.
Sure
like again, I gave it a B-. I thought it was pretty entertaining. It kept my attention just well enough. Is it hard to pass? Yeah, it's absolutely hard to pass. It should be kind of hard to pass, to be honest with you. That's what makes it racing. That's what makes it competition, you know? Was it weird that Joey Logano, who's 2 laps down at one point, finished in second? Yeah, because we didn't really have tire fall off, and we had some weird stuff happen in the end that shook things up, you know? But I don't know, man. I feel like it's getting undue hate for some reason. You know what I mean?
Right. That's my feeling I have as well, Whitey, is that the if you take out social media, I feel like if you talk to the race fans that were there, but then again, even some of the drivers and spotters, like you said, Whitey said it was trash too. So I don't know. I really don't know anymore. I think it's why we have this podcast where we all have our own opinions and we have our own style of what kind of race we want. And everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm perfectly fine with the people that said that they hated that race. If that's, if that's not your cup of tea, then that's not your cup of tea, I guess. Right. But at the same time, like Whitey said, there are some things do need to be addressed. And some things can't do it soon, and others maybe you could.
So, and I'll piggyback off of that. Denny Hamlin on his podcast mentioned 3 big things that if any one of these things were to improve, we would see better racing. And the 3 things were shifting, like I mentioned before, tire fall off, which that's on Goodyear, and I know I believe Whitey is going to get into that a little bit, so we won't really talk on that part too much. And then 950 horsepower. Now they have 650 horsepower. We're running 300 less horsepower than we did X amount of years ago, and we're relying more on aero than power. One of Andrews, a higher up in Hendrick Motorsports, mentioned just this past week, if we were going to get that horsepower number up, we would have to start making changes now, because the parts to do so and the parts to build those engines are about 6 to 12 months out. So that's realistically probably off the table. We're not going to add any more horsepower, at least for the 2024 season. Maybe beyond, NASCAR will finally wise up and do that. But it doesn't seem like the horsepower change is imminent. But we can deal with shifting. Yeah. They could do that tomorrow, to my knowledge. I'm not a mechanic, but from everything that I've read, that can be changed tomorrow. And then the tire wear.
You just say no, just don't. It's make it illegal to shift.
Right. And then the tire wear. I mean, Goodyear has the technology, has the tires. They're afraid. I guess they're afraid because we had so many tire problems last year. They're afraid to give us such a soft tire that we have blowouts. But like Denny Hamlin said, as a competitor, like, give me a soft tire.
Yeah, you need a softer tire.
Okay, I find the line, and if I cross it, I know my tire's going to blow. But listen, maybe the guy up in first is being super aggressive, and he wants to get out there. Where I have a long run car, I'm going to ease up on my tires, so when the guy up there blows through his tires, now I can come up and make the passes. And it's just a strategy within strategy. And that's
none of that on Sunday, which that to me is what makes a short track in a Martinsville. That's what makes that when you have those long run versus short run cars. And I've even seen in recent years where there was a second groove that kind of worked to get around some people when the rubber got too built in down in the on the inside, and you kind of couldn't have your tires in it. You needed to look for more room. So tire fall off, I think, is huge and something that you could do now. But R.I.P. Neil.
R.I.P. Neil.
R.I.P. Neil. You don't want tire wars.
You don't want tire wars, man. I'm telling you. No, for real, you don't. Anyways, because then they start really pushing the lines of safety and stuff.
Super inside joke.
If you go back, I think to season 1, you'll figure out what the inside joke is. One of the old NASCAR history segments was about the tire wars in the early 90s, and R.I.P. Neil Bonnet. Anyways, so the other week I talked about the Iceberg on YouTube. He does NASCAR content and stuff. He also puts out a community poll every week. So his community poll had 11,000 votes. 8% said it was a great race, which kind of makes sense. Like, it wasn't that great.
That's fair.
47% said it was good. 29% said it was average. 11% said below average, and 5% said bad. And this is why I have an issue with Jeff Gluck's poll, because his is yes or no.
Perfect. I would agree with the mindset of the people voting that way in that poll. I would agree with that.
And that's what bothers me about Jeff Gluck's poll, because he had 25,000 votes, so double the votes, but he's got two options. It's either yes or no, and I feel like there's always nuance in anything.
Yes,
always. So
always context matters.
Yeah, and he said 37% said yes, 63% said no.
Sorry.
Yeah,
11,000 people is a solid number. To pull from. Like that 11,000 people, that gives you a pretty solid idea of how that race went.
Yeah, it's a great polling number. And
I bet more of that 11,000 are fans like us three versus just social media fans chiming in just to chime in and be a troll.
Yeah, because you want to know what? They're searching out NASCAR content. Not only that, they're probably younger too. The YouTube audience is probably younger than the Twitter audience following Jeff Gluck. Yeah.
Comment down below,
but let us know.
Grading style of who Whitey just mentioned there. What did you think of that Martinsville race?
Yeah, was it average? Was it good?
And when we'll see what our fans listening thought of it.
I think this is a good time though too. Now, Matt, you wanted to bring up the Nate Ryan tweet. Do you want to talk about that now, or should we wait until the checkers and wreckers? Because I feel like it kind of fits along with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So earlier today, Nate Ryan tweeted out a long thread about Martinsville and stuff. As Matt brings it up, he wanted to read it, and then we'll just talk about point by point, because he makes a lot of great points throughout this whole entire Twitter thread. And if you don't follow Nate Ryan, he works for NBC Sports. He's covered NASCAR for a long time. He's just an all around good sports journalist. Matt, do you have that one ready for you?
I have it ready. So this is, like Whitey said, this is at Nate Ryan on Twitter. And I'm just going to try to breeze through this. Stop me if you guys want to hit on any points, but I'll just kind of breeze through this. It's a couple threads here. So Nate says, this apparently is a hot take, even to the vice president of competition at NASCAR. But I watched Sunday's race at Martinsville, and I thought it mostly looked like Martinsville, which always has been about track position, strategy, and also always will be about those things. On the low downforce package, I agree that NASCAR needs to make the following changes. Eliminate shifting at speed on ovals. This should have been done before the 2023 season.
I agree.
Increase horsepower. Stop me when this sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Increase horsepower, impossible in the short term, unfortunately. And I just laid out why it's impossible in the short term. And then increase tire fall off. All that being said, even with all those things in place, Martinsville still might have unfolded the same way it did Sunday. The essence of the paperclip is track position, and it will always be that. I rewatched some of the spring 2000 race to reaffirm this, and then he posted the YouTube clip to that 2000 spring race. Sunday's race had 3 different leaders under green in the final 100 laps. Kyle Larson on 2 tires, passing 5 cars in the final 46 laps to win. Now, here's where numbers are important. 2,026 green flag passes in 400 laps. Last year, there were 1,900 passes in 903 laps in both races at Martinsville. So I'll just repeat that really quick. 2,026 green flag passes in 400 laps this past Sunday. Last year, in both races combined, there were 1,900 passes in 903 laps. And then Nate finished up with, I've covered races at Martinsville for 24 years, and Sunday wouldn't touch my top 10 there. It had no indelible moments like John Andretti's win on April 18th, 1999, or the fierce Jimmy Johnson versus Jeff Gordon war in April of 2007, but it wasn't an abomination of a stock car race. Martinsville needs no magic wand. In spring 2018, the winner led the final 114 laps with a nary a yellow in the last 109 laps. You know, sometimes nothing will fix the racing. Sometimes it's just racing, i.e. cars going in circles. Not all races are classics. If they were, there would be no classics. So essentially, he's Nate saying everything that we're all saying, is that this wasn't some sort of weird Martinsville race. In some aspects, it's better than what we've seen in years past. So I don't understand, and this is probably confusing to some of our listeners who might not be on Twitter, because Twitter is usually where most of this complaining comes from. We see it day in and day out. And I don't know. I just don't think it's unwarranted. I think Martinsville's getting an unfair shakedown here.
Honestly, I think it was just a typical Martinsville race. Like, think about what you think about in Martinsville. You think about the inside line being dominant. You got to dive to the inside as quickly as possible, or else you get shuffled to the back and all that stuff. Maybe we didn't see as much shuffling throughout the field. Like, I get it. Like, once you're stuck in dirty air, you're pretty much stuck there. It was hard to pass, but that's kind of how Martinsville always is. That's why I didn't play Ryan Blaney on my fantasy team. He was starting like 30th, right? How often is 30th lapped by 20 laps in or 30 laps in? It's just a product
of
the
track. That's where the tires would work, though. That's where if you have tire fall off in that aspect, the dirty air isn't going to matter as much because, hey, I'm back here for now, but guess what? I'm slowly going to work my way up
save
out
my
of
tires.
that dirty air because of my setup.
Yes.
Because the setup, I have an opportunity. How many times have you heard your crew chief tell your driver, just hang on for 10 laps?
Yes.
I know it's going to suck for these first 10 laps, but after that, just hang on for these first 10 because then your car is going to come to you. These drivers and crew chief, I don't know if people understand this. They'll make adjustments for the car, and guess what? They're not immediate.
No.
The adjustments on the car take some time for it to come in. And they have to manage an uncomfortable race car sometimes on these restarts. And y'all know how wild restarts are, right? Sure. So not only are you in a wild restart, but now your car is uncomfortable as hell with the adjustments they just made because they're not going to help the car until 10 laps in. So there's the tire fall off, I think really, really helps the drivers complain, oh, dirty air, and I'm stuck back here. That's what the tire fall off, I think, in my opinion, would help with get you out of that naturally.
I agree, because then you see the guys who know how to manage their tires rise to the top while other guys burn them out. In fact, it happens to me in iRacing all the time. I am not a good race car driver because I burn up my front right tire all the time, and then I'm wrecking tight and I'm smashing into the wall with 4 laps to go. It's just how it goes, man. But I think this is the perfect time to jump into the checkers and wreckers because it goes along with my wreckers.
3 wide for the lead. 1 lap to go.
It's this week's checkers and wreckers.
All right, I want to do my wreckers first because I feel like it goes right exactly what we're talking about. My wreckers goes to Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Never in my life did I think 2 tires and no tires would work in Martinsville, let alone get the win and the second place. But here we are, and that is my big complaint in the race. I think at a short track, your all tires should be better than 2 tires. Am I crazy here, or what do you guys think?
Never in a million years should 2 or no tires work and win a race like that. Never, ever, ever should that happen. So, yeah, I mean, I just gave you my opinion. Something needs to change there. And it's not like we're coming down hard on Goodyear or anything like that. I feel like a lot of people are. It's like, just listen to what the fans want, listen to what the drivers want, and give us that soft tire. Like, give us a softer tire.
My take on this is Goodyear has an opportunity here to come out on top as the hero.
Yeah.
Like they solved the problem.
Like a real big opportunity.
They could solve the problem. They could change this whole entire thing around that we're talking about right now by supplying NASCAR with a tire that has some significant fall off. And they could come out looking like the savior of the sport here for the short track program and the road course and just tire fall off in general we need out of this new car. So to me, I think they kind of put the blinders on, forget about what happened in the past with anything, and come out on top here and show that you are the king tire maker and you're Goodyear, you're NASCAR, you're like, come on, we need you right now. And I think this is an opportunity for them to come out on top.
NASCAR has shown that they're willing to make in-season changes when it comes to safety, which is great. But they also need to show that they're willing to make in-season changes when it comes to competition too. Like we said before, the shifting. Get it the hell out of here. And then the tires, like Goodyear and NASCAR come to an agreement, find a tire that works and roll it out. Like we can make these I don't want to call them simple changes because it's not my money. It's not, it's not my decision, but I think that we can make some of these relatively easy changes that is going to help the sport that everyone is calling for. Like everyone has the same 3 list of things that can change on this car to make it better. Let's fix the 2 that we can change now.
And the thing
that I don't know if this is one that they mentioned. Sorry to cut you off there, Whitey, but I know Bobby Labonte mentioned it during the broadcast, was how big these brakes are and how powerful these brakes are. And the brakes weren't getting hot. And then the brakes, they're massive in this new car. And I think that helps a lot. And I'm saying it helps a lot. It helps the car to slow down and respond quicker like that. But it actually hurts the product on the racetrack having that bigger brake on there.
I agree, because it takes some of it gives you a little bit more forgiveness, I feel like, between the bigger brakes and then shifting. If you mess up in a corner, it's not as big of a stiff penalty.
Right. No consequence.
Exactly. Yep. And that's the problem. When you mess up as a driver, it should cost you time on the track. You shouldn't be able to make it up as easy. And I was listening to DBC this morning too, because like I said last week, we're doing it on Tuesday. I never get a chance to listen on Monday because we're recording. And Freddie Kraft said it. He goes, we had tire fall off on Friday night because we were running a rain tire out on a dry track and it burned it up and we saw track fall off. So and then I saw a tweet where someone else goes, why don't we put grooves in the slicks, take some of that compound patch away, and then you get some of that grip lost because of it, where they kind of showed a slick with just the straight treads in it, So
NASCAR wants to look like the manufacturer right off the lot. Well, do they come with slicks right off the lot? Here you go, NASCAR. Give us some new rubbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if it's gonna burn up, and I know now, and I know Goodyear's in a weird position too, because last year we saw a lot of tire failures, but those tire failures were in the sidewalls because the crew chiefs were running lower air pressure, and it created damage inside. It ruined the integrity of the actual tire. But that's not the tread compound that's hitting the track. You can make that softer while still keeping the integrity of everything else, I'm sure, you know? And I think a lot of it still has to do with that Indianapolis race, like years and years ago, where they were just shredding tires at Indy, and Goodyear looked like a joke because they had to change sets of tires like every 20 laps, you know? So like, yeah, you don't want that to happen, but again, you don't want this to happen either. You know, we're in opposite ends of the spectrum. There's got to be a middle ground where we can meet, right?
If people paid attention too, like they would know for the most part, like Goodyear's not innocent, right? But like for the most part, like they give out the tire and they tell these teams, this is the recommended, PSI that you should stay within. If you go a little too low on a short run or a little too high or whatever, you know, you run the chance of a tire blowing out. And like Whitey said, like the teams were crossing that line on a consistent basis last year. That's why we had so many problems. So like, again, Goodyear gets a bad rep, but like, if people paid attention, like it's not necessarily Goodyear, it's these teams pushing the boundaries too. And now because Goodyear gets such a bad rap in the past, they're being conservative. They don't want to give us that soft tire that has the potential, an easier potential of blowing out, because they don't want to look like the bad guys. But like Eric said, like, dude, don't look at it like don't look at it like that, Goodyear. Like look at it like we can now be the heroes of this season and give us what we all want.
You know what it was another point that it was either Pistol Pete or Mike on the morning drive made yesterday was testing, right? And I'm thinking from the point of view of how many tire tests do we have throughout the year, and you don't really see much of the compound change anyways, where they're like, oh, we decided to run this tire and we're running this tire where we ran it at these races anyways, you know? So I don't know what's going on with testing, whether they're not getting the right feedback they need to make adjustments or what. And then I think it was the bagman that brought it up, was just the testing at Phoenix that brought us this new short track package where everyone's like, yep, it's great, it's going to work well. And then Phoenix comes along and everyone's like, well, it was better than Phoenix in the past. And then Richmond came along. It's like, well, it was better than Richmond in the past. And then Martinsville comes along and it's kind of a little bit better than we saw last year, but still it's not good enough. All of a sudden, you know, where I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are kind of listening to what some of the bigger names in the sport are saying, which again, they're the ones driving the car too, but it's still swaying opinions on what you actually saw on TV. Cause from my perspective, I thought we saw a pretty good race. I don't know. But as you start listening, guys,
I'll repeat it again. I thought the race was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. It to me, I got out of Martinsville what I usually get excited for Martinsville about. Like I saw guys beating and banging. I saw and heard crew chiefs getting mad at other drivers. Like I was immersed in it. So like I'm telling you this as a fan, it's how you consume it sometimes too. You have to really pay attention.
No, that's true. And my checkers, I'm giving it to Martin Truex Jr. I thought he had a really good car all day long. It sucked he got stuck in the back due to that pit road penalty. But then again, they caught that caution, that break at the end, and they were able to salvage their day. Just thought it was a really good run that team needed to get a third place run, you know, after, you know, missing the playoffs last year, not winning a race in a long time, besides the Clash. Like, I think it was a good run they needed. Again, though, and I understand why the drivers are upset. Once they got those penalties, they got stuck in like 30th place. And I had them in my fantasy lineup, and I was looking at them all day long. I'm like, shit, it's too late to change it. Like, what am I going to do? You know, but again, that's racing. That's what happens. That's you're paying the price of a penalty, and now you're stuck in the back with in a hornet's nest too. So even that, I don't even think it was too bad. How about we start with Eric for the race grades? Let's start with Matt for the checkers and wreckers. What are you thinking?
Yeah, my checkers goes to SHR. You know, I just thought that team had the best race of the season for that organization. If it wasn't for pit road struggles for the 41 and the 4, all 4 teams would have finished inside the top 10 and even maybe the top 5. You know, Priest got his first pole of his NASCAR Cup Series career. Yeah, I was just, you know, we've kind of, or I guess I have been kind of dogging on them this year and even calling them like a second tier team, not necessarily in that top tier anymore, which I don't necessarily back down from quite yet. But I just thought they put together the performance that organization needed. And it was important for them to have a race like they just had for confidence sake.
Hey, you know who else had a hell of a weekend to go along with your checkers and records? The boss man.
Tony Stewart.
His first, what do they call it? The Willie or the Wally or whatever, and 4 wide nationals.
Yeah.
He's champion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was he ran it's like alcohol or something, right?
No, I think he's top fuel.
He's top fuel. Yeah.
Top fuel.
So he got his first top fuel win at what? How old is Tony Stewart now? 50? 40 something?
He might be older than that even.
Like
It might be 50.
You know
I'm
what he
guessing
said too?
too? It was
53.
cool. He was like, I've officially raced and won on everything in the city of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's pretty sick.
That's pretty cool.
Sick. Everywhere where you can race and win a race in the city of Las Vegas, I've done it.
He's 51 years old, by the way, too. So big congratulations, Tony Stewart. You know, especially at that age, your reaction times, everything slows down. So to be able to win a race, that's a big deal.
Yeah, but don't tell that to John Force.
Right.
I love that guy so much.
John Force is just a fucking legend, and he's in his own he
had an epic interview last week. I don't know if you guys heard. He had a real epic interview. I forget the context of it. Someone asked him, "Oh, that's what it was. He crossed the center line and wrecked some guy and took a car out."
Yeah.
And someone asked him if hey, John, is this kind of what, are you losing it a little bit? And he went on this epic, you know what? I've been doing this. My team said, you know what? If we didn't trust you, we wouldn't have you in that car. And we trust you. We believe in you. He goes, so you know what? I'm going to be in that car. He goes, I'm going back out there. And he walked away from the interview. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's amazing.
Yeah, good
that
for
guy
him.
Won me over. I encourage folks to go back and listen to the John Force episode on the Dale Jr. download from probably 2 or 3 years ago. Oh my God. That guy has such what's the word I'm looking for? An addictive personality. He's just, or I don't know what I'm trying to say. His personality is addictive. When you hear him talk, when you hear him, just talk about life, he's just he's a very
about himself, about his sport and racing.
It's an He's got an infectious personality. He's
what I was.
He's definitely got a sunny disposition. He's good at telling really good old stories. And I actually listened to that one not too long ago in the off season. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and he's a fucking wild card.
An infectious personality. Yeah. That's what I was trying to say.
But how about your records? What's the records for the weekend?
My records goes to Race Control.
Oh yeah, dude. Wow.
I don't know. I'm not sure if all of Race Control was out at the Martinsville hot dog stand, or what they were doing. But the 78 of Anthony Alfredo lost a wheel on the front stretch, which ended up directly in the sight line of the flag stand. And I know that because Fox had a camera angle
from the flag stand,
showing the flag stand guys leaning over, looking at the tire on the front stretch. I know they have communications to Race Control and vice versa. And it took what must have been 2.5 laps, it felt like, for NASCAR to throw that caution. And you have to believe someone in Race Control is watching the broadcast feed, which, like I just said, showed that loose wheel sitting there for what felt like an eternity before that yellow came out. So just a super dangerous situation. If a car comes around that turn, because it was right out of corner exit, if a car comes out of that turn and punts that tire, it's who knows what it's going to do. I don't want to get into any type of hypothetical situation, but it could have done so much damage. So I just thought it took way too long for that caution to come out.
So I was hoping I could find the clip really quick to play it for you guys, but Elton Sawyer was on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Channel 90 this morning with the morning drive, and he addressed the situation, and he flat out said we blew the call. It shouldn't have happened. We'll try to make sure it doesn't happen ever again. But he kind of explained what was going on from the tower. So because it was,
they couldn't decide whose hot dog was whose.
Well,
who got the relish?
Well, here's the thing. So,
no onion.
So
holy shit! There's a tire on the track.
Oh my god! And I got chili on my tie.
Hit the button. Hit the button.
Hit the button. The button's covered in chili. I don't want to touch it. Anyways,
you hit it. No, you hit it.
So, because the caution, it came out during a green flag cycle. So what had happened was, he kind of explained who's doing what during green flag pit stops and everything, because they have corner spotters, they have pit road people. And then of course they have the people in the tower. Now the tower couldn't see it because the tire was literally right up against the wall where you just couldn't see it. Even a lot of spotters, if you listen to DBC, a lot of the spotters thought it was a tire carcass, not an actual full tire and rim set that came off the car. And then Elton Sawyer explained because there was green flag stops going, a lot of people were watching the pit road line to make sure nobody hit that box. They were watching speeding, stuff like that. So it was just kind of too much going on where they just didn't have eyes on it. And here's the thing.
You know what you're saying right now, Whitey? You're making up a whole bunch of fucking excuses for what you're doing. And I don't like that. There should be zero excuse for that.
And
there's a tire on the racetrack for more than 2 laps, zero tolerance. You want to put zero tolerance on your penalties, NASCAR?
No,
and take every way, L1, L2, L3? Yes. Well, guess what, NASCAR? I'm giving you an L2, L3.
I agree.
No
I agree.
Listen,
I agree.
I 100% agree. I do. The only thing I'm going to bring up is the flag stand. Why couldn't the flagger just pull the yellow flag? And I was listening to DBC today. They said that they don't have the authority. Why doesn't the flagger have the authority when you see something that blatant to pull? That is a straight up safety issue where somebody could have easily been killed. Why can't they pull the yellow?
Make the flagger someone important enough to make the call then.
Yeah.
I assume it's because if the flag man is waving that flag and the cars on the front stretch see that flag's being flown,
but the people on the
back stretch aren't seeing that flag, then half the track doesn't even know that there's a caution being out. Where when race control hits that button, the lights light up all around the track, and so everyone's notified at the exact same time that a caution is out. So I would assume that's why
he should have a button too. Then make him part of race control.
Not even a button. Why doesn't the flagman have a direct line to the tower? Like, hey, there's a tire laying on the front stretch that you guys can't see. Throw the caution.
Over. Throw the caution.
What's that? You need another hot dog. Get me a hot dog. Do you want onions?
To throw a hot dog down to him.
Meanwhile, the guys in the tower knew their fantasy day was going to be ruined during green flag stops, so they didn't want to throw it.
Poor Brad Keselowski, man. Poor Brad Keselowski.
Oh, come on. This year, my picks, I'm just getting robbed left and right at the end of these races.
You really did get robbed because he was running so well all day long in the top 10, and we'll get to those points later on. But yeah, I'm not saying it's a good excuse. I'm just saying that was what the competition director said was the excuse. I still, I don't think it was very good. How about you, Eric? What's your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
Mine are pretty simple. My checkers goes to the pit crews. This week, no one really likes to talk about the pit crews until like the All-Star race is announced or something bad happens with Denny Hamlin, guy over the wall, doing something wrong. I didn't see anything spectacular, like individual, but like to me, it just felt like you couldn't pass on the racetrack, dirty air. So where did you have to be dead on at Martinsville in a short track so you don't go multiple laps down is pit road.
Yeah.
And, those people on pit road, they are part of this sport too. And they were on and they got those cars in and out and they needed to help their teams. And I just wanted to shine a little light and those people are a huge part of a race day, and they prevent you from going multiple laps down to the short track. So just shining some light on the pit crews. I also wanted to mention it was a tough between that and the race time, under 3 hours multiple times this year. These race times have been excellent. Able to do stuff afterward, great. My wreckers, it was see, this is why it was a good race. It was tough to find a wreckers for this race as well for me. The race was good enough for me I'm struggling to find a wreckers here, and I kind of just went with that last caution. I just would have loved to not have seen that last caution. Not that, they needed to throw it. Obviously, we just discussed that, but it was just, man, I did not want to see during that green flag stop, the field just get flipped around like that. And that's what I think made the polls, like you saw in Gluck and certain people. What's going on? What happened here? What did my driver do? Oh, he went from here to here. And it was just, I think that's where it kind of, the race flipped for me and kind of got a little confusing. So all in all, good race when it's tough to find a wrecker.
Yeah, I agree. I think if that whole thing didn't happen, I feel like people would be a little less angry about this race. Martin Truex Jr. fans would probably be mad. Bubba Wallace fans would probably be mad. Those guys that got stuck in the back due to those pit road penalties. I know as a Tyler Reddick fan, I was really mad that a guy that was running in the top 5 all day long and is usually really bad at short tracks was running in the top 5 and doing well, and then he got fucked thanks to it. But same with Brad Keselowski. Definitely not the day he deserved or the finish he deserved after that day. But other than that, I thought it was pretty good. Do you guys have anything else to add?
No, I thought it was a great race weekend.
Yes.
Anything else stand out to you? Of course, Ryan Preece led 135 laps. He got busted for speeding because he was a little further back in a pit stall than he thought he was, and
you know what?
I'll
say this: props to Preece for saying what he said and taking the high road there, because man, he could have fought tooth and nail and bitched about that. I think, like, you win the pole, I'm assuming that I could launch out of that no matter what. I'm the pole. You're assuming they're going to put you in the number 1 pit stall, and usually at almost 99% of the tracks, from what I heard on people, you could fire out of there as fast as you can because the timing is, you're golden that first pit stop. Well, that's what he thought, but he was actually in pit stall number 2. So he went farther than he thought, and that's where he got nabbed for the speeding. And he owned it. He didn't yell. He didn't get mad. He's like, I should have done my homework. I should have known. It is what it is. He took the high road there, but that was just a terrible way to see him get stuck back there, because I think if he doesn't do that, and the way track position was, man, he would have came away with a win or at least a top 5 with that car.
I know he's not a rookie, but that's a quote unquote rookie mistake that he made.
Yeah, and you want to know what? Apparently they haven't used that first pit stall in many years. It used to be like the monster pit stall where they would set up like the monster girls and all that stuff for victory lane and everything. Something I thought was interesting. We don't really talk about ratings on this podcast a lot. Sometimes we'll talk about it personally, but the top 3 available markets was Greensboro was number 1, Charlotte was number 2, and then Hartford, Connecticut, number 3, got a big bump in ratings. It's got to be because Ryan Preece is from Connecticut and the Northeast.
Has to be.
Yeah, I would say.
And you want to
he's
what?
a legend around there. Like he has the record at Martinsville for the fastest lap around the racetrack
of all time. In a modified. So the guy is good. He deserved to win that pole. I think you're going to see him run really well at all the short tracks like that. We saw him run really well at the Clash and stuff. So no surprise there. Just really kind of surprised about lobster rolls. Right now he's going to be probably a good play for Loudon, New Hampshire.
He'll be the pole position for there too.
Play him and Eric Almirola if you're thinking about Almirola is one of my locks at short tracks, and he did well. I think he got a top 10 this week too.
A great day.
And then let's see.
Ricky Stenhouse had a good day too.
Did he?
He was running up front.
Yeah. So, I thought it was a pretty interesting race, But everyone loves to talk about the winner, Kyle Larson, on a Monday. Well, today is a Tuesday. We didn't really talk about Kyle Larson all that much because he really wasn't in the mix until at the end, thanks to those weird strategies and stuff. But we like to talk about the last place driver here on the Bumper Run podcast, and that was one, not BJ McLeod, like Eric said earlier. It was JJ Yeley was driving that car this week. BJ was off track, but he wrecked on lap 344, put it into the wall. Everyone's saying the throttle just kind of hung on it, and that's exactly what it looked like. It looked like he could not slow down at all going into that turn, and that kind of shook up the last 50 laps and really threw off the race altogether. So,
I mean, being the talent that JJ Yeley is, or I should say, was, what is his passion to just drive the cars that he gets into every Sunday? Sometimes it just makes me wonder, at what point, it's like we always talk about it in football. At what point do you tarnish your career because you're trying to go too long and too much?
I think it's just love of being at the track and going out there and doing it, right?
It's got to be.
Looking at the stats, 353 starts, 8 top 10s. Wasn't he in Gibbs equipment at some point, right?
Yeah.
But I guess not long, right? I don't know. I don't know much about JJ Yeley. He was at Gibbs for years.
He's 44 years old. He's not young.
No. He's let's see. I'm on the Wikipedia
He's a former
page
F1
here.
champion.
46. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. He just must love going out there and racing. Is he a former F1 champion?
Puff just sent me something on Instagram the other day about it, the true GOAT in sports or something. It was JJ Yeley, and it had that 15 Rick Ware car in the background, translucent through there, and it was showing his F1 highlights or something. I'm like, Puff, you quit trolling me.
No,
JJ is 46 years old. I don't know if you just said that or not.
Yeah, he's not an F1 champion. I think Fox
Puff was trolling me on my DM.
No, Fox fucked up the graphics. It was just Fox being Fox.
That's what it was.
That was the joke.
Yeah.
Because they had who's running in Coda a couple weeks ago.
It was Jensen, right?
Yeah. Jensen Button. Is that his name?
Button. We're really making a mockery of F1 right now by just. This is probably F1 fans.
Or was it James Davison?
Who's that? Jeff Jordan?
I don't know anyone.
I'm kind of doing it on. No, I'm wink, not purposely, wink, shitting on F1, not doing it.
Yeah. No, we would never shit on F1. They have such a great product, on-track product. I would never
the
say
pinnacle of motorsports.
That F1 is the worst form of motorsports I've ever seen. I would never say that.
Yeah, that was the joke. It was Jensen Button was the F1 champion that ran at Coda. Fox just fucked up the graphic because was this a segment we came up with last year? Because that's so Fox,
That's so Fox.
Speaking of Fox, we got a race to look forward to on Fox next week. Well, this week.
Marty, you gotta come back with me.
Where?
The next NASCAR Cup race. It's the weekend preview.
And we're heading to Dega, baby. Saturday, Xfinity on track, 4 p.m. on FS1 for the Ag Pro 300. And then Sunday, Cup on track, 3 p.m. on Fox for the Geico 500. And I'm predicting now the Xfinity race is probably going to be the race of the weekend. So make sure you tune in on Saturday at 4.
I get so hyped for Talladega, dude. I love Talladega weekend so much. I'm so excited.
Me too, especially the Xfinity Series race. I always think that's just a hell of a race too. And I'm pretty excited. One thing we got to go on by though, man, our fucking bets from last week. One of us did well. Last week to go over this. Last week I picked William Byron. Should have been a layup. Should have been a great pick. He got me 15 points. Eric, you picked Brad Keselowski for the second time in the season. Had a hell of a day until the end. He got you 19 points. Goddamn shame. And then Matt, coming out on top with 34 points. You picked one Martin Truex Jr. Of course, he got that top 5 finish and a couple stage points along the way. So here it is, fellas. It's where do we go with Talladega? I might as well just throw a dart at the board. I have no idea who to pick.
I know I'm assuming DraftKings has the
because it's Tuesday. You want to look up the DraftKings line? Nope. Okay.
Nope. Because it doesn't matter what the lines are because it's Talladega. I don't care who the favorite is. I don't care who the least favorite is because anybody can win this race.
I tell you who my favorite is because you want to know what? I actually did think about a pick yesterday and I forgot about it until just now. He's already won at Talladega once. In the spring, he hasn't won a race in a long time. The Fords had power at Martinsville. I feel like the Fords had power at Daytona. I'm assuming the Fords might have power at Talladega. I am going with one, Ryan Blaney.
Solid pick.
For the second time. God damn it. I picked him at Atlanta too.
Well, too late. No take backs.
Ah, shit. Okay. I'm going.
What?
Going with Ryan Blaney. If you don't know at home, we can only pick a guy 3 times throughout the season. So burning my second one on Blaney. All right. Eric, who you going with?
I'm gonna go with somebody that needs to get a win. I'm gonna go with somebody that they're absolutely incredible at super speedway racing. And hey, while the fire is hot, keep stoking that flame. And I think we're going to see Chase Elliott in the number 9.
No.
He's also won at Talladega in the past, in the springtime.
While they're cheating, might as well get Chase one.
Right.
Better check those louvers of the super speedway.
Don't check anything.
Putting little pieces
Stay
of
the hell
tape
away from Hendrick for once.
Putting little pieces of tape on the top to create more downforce. I know what's going on.
Little underdog Hendrick Motorsports. You guys are picking on them.
Couple extra Napa stickers. Stack them up on the hood.
Tony, did you ever see the screenshots of that? I didn't realize that was the deal. They used to
the Bud Light with the
in front of the camera. They just stack them fucking inch high.
Stack of them.
Amazing, genius.
Dale Jr. talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. How about you? Who are you picking for this weekend?
I'm not doing a show. I'm not flipping. I'm not flopping. I am keeping it simple. This dude again is also due for a race. He's been on Eric's radar for damn near 2 years now. I am taking the number 6. I am taking Hawaiian Rolls.
Okay.
And I am taking Brad Keselowski. He's one of the best all-time super speedway racers NASCAR has ever seen. He deserves a win. He's been running well. If the luck goes his way and he can make it to the end of the race, if he's there at the end of the race, Brad's going to win this one.
He was in position last year in the playoffs, wasn't he, to win this race too?
He always is. Yeah. He always is.
He really is always in the position at the end of day if he makes it to the end. And we will see. We're 9 races into the 2023 season. We have 7 different winners locked into the playoffs so far. We have Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, William Byron, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell. Could Ryan Blaney lock himself in? Could Chase Elliott lock himself in at his big return to a super speedway? Or will it be Brad Keselowski finally getting that first win as an owner driver? We will find out this Sunday, 3 p.m. on Fox for the Geico 500. And I know I said it last week, but God damn it, I mean it this time. We will break it all down for you at regular time, Monday night, right here on the Bump and Run podcast. For Matt the Statman Reilly, for Eric Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
The Bump and Run. There it is.